Everyone wants to be stronger, not just physically, but in every part of life. But between confusing workout advice, complicated equipment, and trying to figure out nutrition, where does anyone even start? Well, to get stronger mentally and physically, go to Anytime Fitness. You'll get a personalized training, nutrition, and recovery plan, all customized to your body, your strength level, and your goals. You'll get expert coaching to optimize your results, anytime, anywhere, in the gym and on the Anytime Fitness app. And you'll get anytime access to 5,500 gyms worldwide, all with the right equipment to level up your strength gains and your life. So get started at AnytimeFitness.com. That's AnytimeFitness.com.
AFR On Demand is brought to you by Breck Golf. Try Beaver Creek today, just 20 minutes from downtown Baton Rouge in the Zachary area. They've got a PGA Tour driving range, a short game practice area, 30 to 40-yard practice shots. It's a great place to chip and putt and practice if you don't have time for a full round. Book your tee time today, golf.breck.org, golf.breck.org.
Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say it one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
Live from the Raising Cane studio.
Let's rock!
Hour 2, off we go. Welcome aboard. Glad you're with us. It's AFR, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. I'm Matt.
You're a loser, Matt!
Shut up, kid. Paul O'Neill.
They're chanting Paul O'Neill's name.
You suck. And Mr. Toby Tomplay. All right, we're here. Glad you are as well. Get out there, make it a good one. Talk to Ross Jackson in about 15 minutes from right now. Get the latest from New Orleans. Saints are 1-7. They're going to start Tyler Shough Sunday against the Rams. We'll get some reaction on what to watch there. Sean Salisbury, 1 hour from right now. We have talked plenty about who is next at LSU. And my firmly held contention is can't really have that conversation seriously yet until we know how much LSU is willing to spend and who is going to be making the hire. Do you want to go spend $100 million again to lure Lane Kiffin, Dan Lanning? Or are you going to try to get a lesser deal on an up-and-coming coach? Are you going to look at John Sumrall? Are you going to try to make a play for Joe Brady? Some of the other names that we've discussed. And it's impossible to know until you know who's making that hire. If it's Scott Woodward, we know he's a big game hunter. He goes after the biggest fish in the sea. I've shared with you here, based on the information that I've gotten, believe that Scott Woodward is not going to be making this hire. I think it was very evident this weekend with Governor Jeff Landry injecting himself the manner in which he did into these conversations. A new university president set to be hired within the next several weeks. You have seen the governor start to overhaul leadership throughout the university, from Winston DeQueer, the legal counsel, last January, to now a new university president where his guy, Wade Rouse from McNeese, is likely going to be that guy, I'm told. That's certainly who the governor is pushing for. And I think that is going to extend to athletic administration as well. And they will look to hire a new athletic director. So not knowing who's making the hire makes it impossible to know, number one, what type of hire they're looking to make or how much they're willing to spend, because I don't know who's making that hire. But Paul Feinbaum was on the Rich Eisen show on Tuesday and said so far the most fascinating thing that I have heard in this very short now coach search window. And it's about a guy that won the first national title here in 45 years.
Nick Saban wouldn't talk to Penn State. He wouldn't talk to Florida. But I think he would talk to LSU, at least to see what they have to offer. And by the way, sometimes you can come back and make an offer that even a man who will be 74 years old on Halloween might consider. I think it's worth thinking about. And I'm already hearing on our show down here in the South, Alabama fans saying, please tell me it's not true. Don't tell me that Nick Saban's going to LSU.
You want to talk about the most epic Bama is burning ever? Let this happen. I'm just saying. I learned long ago in this business not to speak in absolutes. So when it comes to coaching searches, I'll use this phrase that I've used forever. Believe nothing, consider everything. So I'm not believing that Nick Saban's coming, but I'll consider anything. Y'all, Ed Ogeron became the head coach at LSU. And you may look at it now with the benefit of hindsight and think, yeah, so what, he won a championship? Right. Remember the context at the time he was hired. That was an absurd, outlandish thought that LSU would hire Ed Ogeron. They did because of circumstances that unfolded the way they did. I will believe nothing. I will consider everything. As it pertains to Saban, I'll entertain the conversation. Paul Feinbaum, rooted in the state of Alabama, around that university, has obviously a lot of connectivity with Nick Saban and believes he would listen. I want to remind you of this. Nick Saban, last offseason, was a guest on The Pivot with Ryan Clark, Channing Crowder, Fred Taylor. Nick Saban, Nick Saban's words, talked about his greatest regret in his career.
When I left LSU, that was probably professionally the biggest mistake that I ever made. Not because we didn't have success in Miami, because I enjoyed coaching in Miami, but I found out in that experience that I like coaching in college better because you could develop players personally, academically, athletically, and all that a little more than in pro ball.
The biggest mistake he made professionally was leaving LSU. And he has spoken for years glowingly about his time in Baton Rouge at LSU. Now, you heard also, he's about to be 74 years old next week, on Friday. He'll be 74 years old Friday. What type of contract and deal can you do for a guy that's 74 years old? Short-term, 3-year deal. Would you sign Nick Saban to a 3-year deal at $20 million a year? Would you guarantee Nick Saban $60 million over 3 years, banking that he could come in here and rebuild this thing quickly enough and rebuild culture quickly enough and maybe make a run at winning another national title? Like, is it worth that money? You're damn right it is. And I believe that they would have no problem whatsoever raising those funds. If the power brokers around LSU had the option to get Nick Saban and you had to pass the hat and raise $60 million for 3 years, done in an instant, in a millisecond, done. Nick Saban, is this McAfee or game day? Okay, this was Nick Saban on Pat McAfee talking about would he coach again.
You know, I want to stay retired, and I do not want him anywhere near Miss Terry. Because when she hears some of these numbers, she gets interested. And I ain't interested.
He said, I ain't interested. That was Saban on McAfee. They also talked about it briefly and jokingly on College Game Day this past weekend as well. Again, I don't believe Nick Saban is going to unretire. If he wanted to keep coaching, there was no reason to leave Alabama. I mean, he was an errant snap in the national semifinal away from going to the national championship where they would have beaten the crap out of Washington and won a national championship. Okay? He was an errant snap away from that on a team that Alabama fans tried to tell you was no good and Saban had lost his fastball and all that stuff. He could absolutely do it. He should have stayed if he wanted to be in it. I don't think he wants to be in it. That's the reality. That's why he left. But what would be fascinating is if Nick Saban would take Scott Woodward's call. Because remember, when Nick Saban was here the first time, of course, his agent, Jimmy Sexton, Scott Woodward was the liaison between Mark Emmert, the chancellor, the athletic director, Joe Dean at the time, and the state capitol. He was that guy that was the liaison that tied all the loose ends together. There's a decades-long relationship there and a tie to the era of when Nick was here the first time. Would he be interested if Scott Woodward was not his athletic director? I think he would be decidedly less interested, especially not knowing who would be the AD in this moment. The timing, however, works because think of how complex this decision is going to be. Your season's going to end the Saturday after Thanksgiving at the end of November. Well, you're a few weeks away from the December signing period and then the January portal. If you're interested in Lane Kiffin or Dan Lanning or possibly John Summerall, because Tulane could be in the playoff. Any team in the playoff? You ain't talking to these guys until the end of December or January. The December signing period's over. The January portal's over. And you don't have your coach in place. Solved that with Nick Saban. He's just sitting there doing TV. It's a crazy thought. A thought that I don't think is going to happen. Like, I don't think Nick Saban is coming back at 74 years old to coach LSU and be a bridge or any of that stuff. I think he's sincere when he says he wants to stay retired. But I also believe you pick up the phone and you make him tell you no. You call Miss Terry and you tell her 20, 25 million a year, whatever that number is, and see if you could get Nick Saban here for 3 years to reinstate that culture that he built, which, by the way, then Les Miles was able to build upon for the decade plus he was here, and then Ed Ogeron. Yeah. I do it in a millisecond. Believe nothing. Consider everything. Even a phone call to Nick Saban. All right, it's after further review. Brought to you by Relief Windows, reliefwindows.com. Windows, doors, siding, Relief Windows, and reliefwindows.com. Energy-efficient replacement windows, beautiful entry doors, hardy plank vinyl siding. They do it all. They do it better than anyone. Oh, yeah. They do shutters, too, at Relief Windows and reliefwindows.com. Hey, remember, with Relief Windows, I tell you all the time, they're never going to be the cheapest. If you're just shopping around, making calls to shop price, don't call Relief Windows. They measure twice, install once. They have measure techs. They have install crews. They have a true service department. It's not the same measure install. They have a service department dedicated just to servicing customers because they're so busy, they got to make sure they keep up with measures and installs and all the other stuff. You'll have an exceptional experience, a beautiful product, and a true lifetime transferable warranty. They're just the best. It's Relief Windows and reliefwindows.com. Windows, doors, siding. Oh, yeah, they do shutters too. Relief Windows and reliefwindows.com. Okay, y'all, quick break. We'll come back. Ross Jackson will be here. Talk a little who dat. Tyler Shough's going to get the start for a week, for the rest of the season, what's on the line, all that stuff. We'll get to it. It's AFR.
AFR.
Moving through Q4, and a lot of times in Q4 is when you start putting together budgets for the following year. Like we're going through that right now here at Guarantee. We're doing budgets for 2026. This is the time to call Glow Resources. If you're budgeting for 2026 and you're about to make that really important hire, or you know you have an important person in your organization that's going to be leaving for a different job, for whatever reason, maybe you're adding a very important person in your business, Glow Resources can help. GLO, glowresources.com, glowresources.com. Glow Resources uses their wide net to find the perfect candidate for your job. And we're not talking temp staff solutions. These are permanent employer solutions here. It's Glow Resources. No matter the type of business you're looking for, Glow Resources can help you find that perfect candidate. glowresources.com.
After further review, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana.
She's the only one who really understands what gets me. She thinks my tractor.
Yeah, going into the game, like in those circumstances, I thought I operated well. We just got to keep, trying to find ways to execute at a higher level from an offense perspective. And so I thought his personal operation, I thought was pretty clean.
Kellen Moore talking about Tyler Shough, who saw his first extensive action when he replaced Spencer Rattler in the third quarter of Sunday's loss to the Bucs. And now Tyler Shough is going to get the first start of his career Sunday in Los Angeles against the Rams. Ross Jackson, LouisianaSports.net, and the Locked On Saints podcast. Good enough to hang out with us here for a few minutes. Yo, man, how are you?
Hey, man, doing great. Thanks for having me on.
Of course. Okay, reaction.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is kind of what we expected after the benching took place. I feel like every time that I say the benching, I feel like I'm talking about some kind of like big moment. But really just like in this moment when it came to, Kellen Moore, who had been such a kind of process-driven, process-oriented guy, and then all of a sudden like pulling a starting quarterback in the third quarter and putting the rookie out there, that felt very much like that was the decision right there. And even though after the game, Kellen Moore said, we're going to take some time to think about it, kind of figure this thing out, and then see where they're going to go. He wanted to give it 48 hours, all these other pieces. It still very much felt like this was going to be the course. I think I wrote at LouisianaSports.net that night that, the decision was effectively already made, right? When you have a head coach that talked about not wanting to flip-flop at quarterback and everything, it didn't make sense to then turn around and flip-flop at quarterback. And he was pretty clear, Kellen Moore was, about why he made the decision to pull Spencer Rattler and what he was looking for in his offense. And I think that with all of those things taken into consideration, it felt very much like this was the move that we all expected.
What were those reasons that he made to pull Spencer Rattler at the moment he did?
Yeah, he made a couple of different remarks about turnovers, of course, being a big part of it. Obviously, the team had gone from taking care of the ball really well to turning the ball over 9 times in the last 3 games, 8 times in the last 4. He also mentioned about how he wanted to see more explosiveness in the offense. He had specifically made the decision to change quarterbacks because he wanted to give what he called a spark to the offense. And it feels like there's a lot of different things you can do before swapping out quarterbacks to provide that spark to your offense. And so I had asked him about that on Monday, and he said that they did try a bunch of different things before finally making that decision at quarterback. And so all those things just kind of pile up to let you know not just what the Saints and what Kellen Moore is hoping to get out of Tyler Shough, but clearly what it was that they felt that they were missing in Spencer Rattler. And so all of those things pile up after, a 1-7 start for the young quarterback. And he had effectively moved out of the conversation of the guy that's not losing you games to the guy that was committing turnovers and losing efforts, which is going to be looked at as the guy that's losing you games. And so I think for all those reasons, those were all different packages or different pieces in our conversations with Kellen Moore about why he made the switch.
Ross, I'm asking your opinion based on what you've seen and then what you know. Do you think Spencer Rattler's opportunity to be the Saints starting quarterback is done?
I don't think it's done I don't think it's done unless Tyler Shough performs well, right? Like, I'm not going to say that it's done because if Tyler Shough goes out there and, either isn't able to be out on the field or doesn't perform well, then I think you end up going back to Spencer Rattler, and he would be the guy that you'd go back to at a later point in this season, and then he would get another opportunity. So I don't think that the job is done, but it's solely now in the hands of Tyler Shough. If Tyler Shough stays on the field and if Tyler Shough performs well while on the field, it's not going to be a big task for him to keep the job here over the course of these next 9 games, thereby giving the Saints the opportunity to have 8 starting games of evaluation on Spencer Rattler from this season, right? 6 from last season as well, but 8 from this year, and then 9 on Tyler Shough throughout the rest of the season. I think the Saints want that. And so unless Tyler Shough doesn't seize this opportunity one way or another, as soon as he doesn't, then I think that there is an opportunity again for Spencer Rattler to potentially get out there.
Ross has a piece up at LouisianaSports.net right now if you want to read it. It's Tyler Shough's path to becoming the Saints 2026 starter. That's, of course, free always over at LouisianaSports.net. Okay, well, let's talk about Shough. You got to see him for about a quarter and a half on Sunday. What was your opinion?
Yeah, I thought that he was a guy that in that moment, getting thrown in the second half there, and in that game, he was the guy that was trying to keep his head above water. That's kind of what he felt like to me. I think you still saw the same, similar kinds of pressure and things like that he was under, although he faced less pressure than Spencer Rattler did. But then you also saw an offense that, still went 17 of 30 with him at the helm. Now, it's very different when a quarterback steps in and plays in the second half of the game, and then also has versus when they actually get an opportunity to prepare and be the starter. But I didn't see a ton when it came to that quarter and a half, if you will. There were a couple of really nice throws, though, some good ball placement things that I think as he gets more comfortable with guys like Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed, Brandon Cooks, or whatever's left of that trio with the trade deadline on the way, like whatever receiving core he has, if he builds more sort of calibration with them in terms of understanding their speed, where they like the ball, all those other things, that some of that stuff will come. But it's going to have to fall into place quickly. It didn't on Sunday up against Tampa. Right now, if the performance that we saw from Tyler Shough on Sunday is the performance that we see from him for the next 9 weeks, I don't think the Saints really moved the needle at all and are probably back in the quarterback conversation this offseason. But it would be unfair of me to kind of transplant that onto his future projection now that he's going to get the opportunity to practice and be with that actual first team, that team that he'll actually be working with on the field. So we'll see if he's able to improve from that. But that starting place certainly gives a baseline that's yearning for improvement for sure.
Just to be clear, do you think Shough is the starter for the remainder of the season?
I think he has the opportunity to be there. I mean, he's going to be the starter this weekend. I don't think that based on anything that Kellen Moore has said, basically, he's talked all season about not wanting to flip-flop at quarterback.
Yeah.
And so if they can stay with Tyler Shough, then I think he's safe. Now, he's going to have to earn that, right? He's going to have to play well and earn the opportunity to be out there each week. But I do think that would be the ideal situation for New Orleans from their vantage point, is that he is the starter throughout the rest of the year.
Is the offense any different with Shough as opposed to Rattler?
It would be, if it is, it's because Shough is taking more risks than maybe Rattler did during his time. I think the play calling that we've seen between the two is consistent. We've heard some stuff about, there's been criticism lobbied about, open up the playbook for Spencer Rattler. The playbook's open, man. Like everything's there. But I think that the big thing is who takes advantage of what. And so if Tyler Shough goes out there and understands this is his opportunity, right? He's got 9 games at max to prove that he can be the guy in 2026. Otherwise, they're probably drafting somebody else. He should go out there and attack. He should go out there and play risky. He should go out there and be aggressive. That's one of the things that Kellen Moore said he wants in the offense, is for it to be more aggressive, to find more of those explosive plays. And so if it does look different, then I think that it comes down to Tyler Shough taking advantage of more opportunities downfield than Spencer Rattler did. So you'll get a little bit of an immediate comparison there if that happens. The other thing that I would expect is, and the Saints just have to get this figured out anyway, but they've got to fall back into their run game and get that going again in order to be able to support the young quarterback.
How much is that possible this week on the road against the Rams? No Kendre Miller, no Eric McCoy, obviously all the issues they've had.
Yeah, very, very challenging. All of it's going to be very challenging. This is not going to be easy on Tyler Shough, right? He's got 6 of his last 9 games are going to be on the road. He's got division opponents for the majority of those games as well. And he's got a couple of tough opponents coming up in the Rams. And then eventually when that team travels to Tampa to take on the Bucs again, he'll see that defense for a second time or a first and a half time, if you want to give a little bit of grace there. So I think it's going to be challenging, but it's going to come down to the play calling. I mean, the Saints ran, I think it was just 5 times in the first half or 5 times in the first quarter up against Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and you're not going to be able to do that. Alvin Kamara, I think, didn't run at all in the second quarter once. And so you can't do that, right? There's a big difference between your run game not working and you not leaning on your run game and you not calling run plays. Those two are very different. The other thing that I'll be interested in seeing is, the Saints sometimes call those RPOs, and so those run plays turn into passing plays. I'm curious if Tyler Shough's decision-making keeps that ball on the ground a little bit more than Spencer Rattler did.
Last thing for you, Ross. 1 week from today, almost to the hour, is the trade deadline. If you would provide an update for us on what we might expect in the next 7 days.
Yeah, the most popular names right now are the couple wide receivers in Rashid Shaheed as well as Brandon Cooks. Those are guys that could potentially get moved. There's a lot of conversation about how, Brandon Cooks and that move could be a mutual one. He kind of signed here in New Orleans with with a different expectation of what this team was going to be. It was a Derek Carr-led team that was still looking to compete, all these other things. That's very much not who the Saints are right now. And so is there an opportunity to get that veteran somewhere? By the way, trading Brandon Cooks would make him the most traded player in the NFL, in NFL history.
Oh, wow, okay.
In his
how
career.
many?
Yeah,
Wait, how many?
5th time. It'd be the 5th time that he'd be traded. Right now, he's tied with Hall of Famer Eric Dickerson and not Hall of Famer Kiko Alonso.
Okay.
Those are the two people that he's kind of wrapped up with there. So that would put him up above there. There are a couple other guys on the defensive side that could potentially get moved too. I mean, you're looking at some younger but still veteran players like Isaac Yadam, as well as Pete Werner and a couple others. I wouldn't be surprised if some of the edge rushers get a little bit of interest as well. But right now, it feels like those wide receivers, Rashid Shaheed and or Brandon Cooks, are kind of the two that everybody seems to be most focused on.
LouisianaSports.net and the Locked On Saints podcast, wherever you get your podcasts, or on YouTube. He is Ross Jackson. Thank you, man.
Thank you, bud. You take care. Stay safe. Talk to you soon.
Be well. Brought to you by Parrish Construction and Roofing. I was over at Parrish today. Really excited. We got a very, very cool promotion we're about to announce next week. As a matter of fact, we're here on Monday. We'll make that announcement. It's not another cash giveaway. We had a lot of fun with those, but this one's going to be a bit more meaningful. I'm excited about it. We've had a great opportunity at Parrish to be community-centered, community-oriented. We've made it very intentional that we're gonna donate to great charitable causes. We've sponsored the Go Red Women luncheon for women. So many different church and school activities and sports teams, and just try to be very community oriented. This past weekend, Dutchtown High, their cheerleaders had a fundraiser for St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. We're proud to sponsor that. We love to be community involved and community oriented. We believe that that's a service, a way that we can continue to give back to the communities that we serve. And we got a really, really special one, I think, that you're going to like. We're going to announce that coming up on Monday here on AFR. So, Parrish Construction and Roofing. If you need a free, no-obligation roofing inspection, we'd love to help you out. Commercial or residential, repairs, replacements, we do it all. ParrishBuilt.com, ParrishBuilt.com. Do business with someone you know. Parrish Construction and Roofing, ParrishBuilt.com. Okay, Frank Wilson, LSU's interim head coach, is going to be meeting with reporters a little more than an hour from right now when the Tigers get off the practice field. Unfortunately, I won't be there because I'm here. But when we come back, I do want to answer the question many of you have asked. Can Frank Wilson earn the full-time job? I'll give you my thoughts on it next on AFR.
After further review.
We're brought to you by River City's 1 Hour Air, where they're always on time or you don't pay a dime. 752-0001, 752-0001, 752-0001, or 1hourbr.com. When was the last time you had your heater looked over? Cleaned, tuned up, inspected? Can you remember? Now, if you're like me and you're part of the River City's 1 Hour Air Maintenance Club, they call you every year to do this inspection. They do it for free, because it's complimentary seasonal maintenance when you're part of their membership club, which I always recommend. Eric and I are part of the membership club. Highly recommend it. Just the seasonal maintenance alone pays for the membership club. So anyway, plus you also get membership club pricing. You get front-of-the-line service, discounts, all kind of stuff. But if you can't remember the last time you had your heater serviced, the time is now. Mention the show. They'll knock $30 off the price. 752-0001. 752-0001, where they're always on time or you don't pay a dime.
After further review, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana.
We ride back and forth till we run out of light. Take it to the barn, put it up for the night. Climb up in the loft, sit and talk with the radio.
All right, glad you're with us here. We always appreciate our friends over at Sunshine. I get to pass the new Sunshine office coming soon, right there in Baton Rouge as we get off of Piku, as it continues going up every single day. Can't wait for that to be open. We can tell you about it, but you can always get by. Tractors and combines, all your farm equipment, you know that, but also zero-turn mowers, gators. It's hunting season. Sunshine. Sunequip.com, sunequip.com. Bunky and below, you want a deer, you're going to one place. You're going to Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. Title sponsor of our Tuesday shows. Tuesday, LSU's back on the practice field. After practice, Frank Wilson will meet with reporters for the first time as LSU's interim head football coach. And as we've gone through the betting odds, Frank Wilson is a notable omission on the list. As we've talked about candidates and people have thrown out names like Lane Kiffin and Dan Lanning, we even had a conversation about, would Nick Saban entertain coming back for a short-term deal? John Sumrall, Dan Mullen, Eli Drinkwitz, Jed Fish, a lot of the names that you've heard and we know. You don't hear people commonly asking about Frank Wilson. And I understand it. I do. LSU is a premier job in college football. It is undeniably and inarguably a top 10 job in the country. You're not going to find 10 other jobs with more resources, more history, tradition, support, all of it than LSU. And considering what I often say, it's the only Power 5 in a talent-rich state, and the only other school that can claim that is Ohio State. There's a lot of reasons why this is a premier job and would attract premier candidates. I'll remind you, though, my mantra during coaching searches: believe nothing, consider everything. And when I say consider everything, consider everything. I mean, Ed Ogeron got the job after being the interim. They targeted Tom Herman. You can laugh all you want with the benefit of hindsight. But the bottom line is they had a verbal agreement with Tom Herman to be the head coach. And when that fell apart, Joe Oliva rushed Ed Ogeron to the podium instead of conducting a complete and full search or going to anybody else. Anything is possible, including Frank Wilson being the head coach at LSU. But I'm going to continue to reiterate this point as well. Who is making this hire is the key point. Now, I've made it very clear my feelings on Scott Woodward. I think he is an excellent athletics director, and I hope he continues to serve as LSU's athletic director. As a Baton Rouge native, an LSU alum who loves the school, wants to be here, and has done an outstanding job of hiring coaches, of generating revenue, of advancing facilities. Like, he's done everything you want an athletic director to do. The knock that people mention is, well, Jimbo's contract and Brian Kelly's contract. And I'll continue to remind you, because narratives are fun and people believe him in the echo chamber. The Jimbo Fisher contract was not Scott Woodward. Ross Bjork is the one that gave Jimbo the extension after they won 9 games in the fake COVID year, and that's what they got saddled with in College Station, not the original contract that Scott gave him. Brian Kelly, it fell apart. All thought it was a great hire at the time. Clearly wasn't. Okay. You'll own that. But I think Scott Woodward is super respected as an outstanding athletic director. I hope he keeps the job. I do not have confidence that he will, or belief that he will. I was asked point blank earlier today, do I think someone other than Scott Woodward will make this hire and LSU will have a new athletics director? I do, to be very clear. I'm not reporting news. I'm telling you what is my opinion. I'm going to be very clear throughout this whole thing when I'm giving you an opinion and when I'm reporting news to you, when I'm providing you information. I'm giving you my opinion based on a lot of different conversations I've had. I do believe that the governor of the state of Louisiana is going to wield a lot of influence in putting the new president in place in the next few weeks. I believe one of the first duties that president is going to do is to replace the athletic director. I do believe that's going to happen. That is my opinion. I do not want that to happen. I want Scott Woodward to remain the athletic director, but I do not think that's going to happen. So, is a new athletics director in place in time to make the hire? Who is that person? Is that athletics director not hired in time? And then what type of athletic director can you really hire if they're not going to have autonomy to hire a football coach? There's a lot of things that are interwoven into this, a lot of dominoes that need to fall here. You need a new president, what's going to happen with the athletic director, and then hire a new coach, and all do it before December. So this is going to move quickly. But there's a few things that we've talked about. Number one is the finances of it that we all know. You have a massive financial hit with paying this buyout. So if you're looking to go, I'd say bargain shopping, but I think you understand what I mean. If you're not looking to go throw $100 million at a coach and hire someone for a more sensible rate, Frank Wilson is a check there. It's not going to cost you $10 million a year over 10 years to hire Frank Wilson. It's very fair to wonder what type of coach could you lure right now as you start to have these conversations, right? Hypothetically, not hypothetically, like you are making calls. And I don't know if it's Verge Osbury, Austin Thomas, Scott Woodward, members of the board, boosters. Like, no doubt, whatever formal or informal committee LSU has put together, you're already making calls to agents to gauge interest. What high-level coaches are going to be really interested not knowing what athletic director they're going to work for? It's a very fair question. which could shallow out your pool. How much are you willing to spend? Who is going to be the athletic director? Like, the answers to these questions, or not knowing the answers to these questions, could thin out the potential list of candidates. You know who will take the job, regardless of how much it pays and who the AD is? Frank Wilson. You know who's the guy that understands recruiting and culture and all those things? Frank Wilson. Yeah, I'm not sitting here today lobbying for Frank to get the job. But there's a lot of things where you can look and say, is there a path? Oh, yeah, there's a path. We saw it in 2016. But the thing he's got to do over the next month is win 4 games. If they win the next 4 games after losing 3 on the road, if they go to Tuscaloosa and win, and then come home and beat Arkansas and Western Kentucky, and then go to Norman and win, and Frank is 4-0, and salvages this thing from what we saw against Texas A&M, there's going to be a tremendous groundswell of support internally for Frank Wilson. From the players, from their families, recruits, and yes, boosters and admins that love him. That could be a real thing. Now, his head coaching record is nothing to write home about. He coached at UTSA and McNeese. Got fired at both. Clearly, those places didn't have the resources, never will, even remotely close to what you'd have at LSU. And again, this is not my choice. My choice is Dan Lanning. I want to see LSU spend $100 million and get Dan Lanning here. That's my choice. Let Dan Lanning come here and be your Kirby for the next 15, 20 years. That's my choice. That's my number one choice. I don't know if that's realistic, but I am trying like hell to make that happen. That's my choice. But if you're asking the question, is there a path? Is there a way that this could happen, that Frank could become the coach? Oh, yeah. Believe nothing. Consider everything, including Frank Wilson being the full-time head coach at LSU. But again, how much are you willing to spend? Who is making the hire? Until you know the answer to those two questions, it's impossible to know what the answer to the question is going to be of who LSU's next coach is. But if you don't think there's at least a possibility of Frank Wilson getting this job, I'd caution you on that. I don't think it's likely, and I don't think it's going to happen. But is there a path? Oh, yeah. And it starts a week from Saturday when they play in Tuscaloosa. You win that game, it gets real interesting. Because you should beat Arkansas and Western Kentucky in Tiger Stadium. And that sets up a dramatic final weekend of the regular season in Norman, Oklahoma, where he could be coaching for that job. It's after further review brought to you by First South Farm Credit. FirstSouthLand.com, FirstSouthLand.com. Thinking of buying land? Your first call should be to First South Farm Credit. Again, FirstSouthLand.com. Hey, y'all, hunting season is here. You know that. So many of you share hunting leases. If you're tired of that, hunting on someone else's property, someone else nabbing the big buck, let that be a thing of the past. Get your own hunting property. Let First South Farm Credit help make it happen. You want to buy land? First South Farm Credit has helped Louisianians buy land for more than 100 years. They do one thing, they do it better than anyone. They help Louisianians buy land, but not just in Louisiana. They have branches in Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and they can help you buy land anywhere in the lower 48. Anywhere in the lower 48. It's First South Farm Credit. FirstSouthLand.com. That's FirstSouthLand.com. And Frank Wilson will be meeting with reporters 1 hour from right now. If there's anything that comes of that while we're still on air, we'll certainly share it with you. Let me knock out a quick break. Used to do Tigers in the Pros. Sean Salisbury in 15 minutes. Ton to do. Glad you're here. It's AFR.
After further review.
Man, I had a great time this morning. I got to be a guest on the Alligator Shoes podcast with my friend Michael Hackett, and we recorded the podcast over at The Garage. That's Gordon McKernan's studio. I tell you all the time about how Gordon gives back to the community. Well, The Garage is a fully outfitted podcast studio, podcast video studio that he lets people use for free. Like, no catch, totally free. You just go to the website, you can sign up and reserve time and they'll produce a podcast for you for free. It's a gorgeous space, by the way. Had a great time there. I texted Gordon after. I was like, hey, man, we got to do a show in the garage. That place is awesome. Anyway, just another way of the many different ways that Gordon gives back to the community. We talk all the time about the laptop giveaway at graduation, the bicycle giveaway, which is coming up here around the holidays, the many NIL deals he's done, the garage, which he's put on loan to the city. You know what to do. Get Gordon and get it done.
After further review, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana.
She thinks my tractor's sexy.
Had to run a few errands last night after the show, so I usually put Drew in the car and we drive around a little bit. Actually went over to see the Terriers last night, but on the way we were listening to 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. We had the Pelicans on. They're playing the Celtics. They got blown out 122-90, but got to hear Graf.
Front court left, sizing up Sadiq Bey. Pick from Garza. Brown pops one to Garza for three. Yikes.
Let me tell you
if
something.
Luka Garza's making threes, we might as well go home.
I watched him in his warm-ups, and he couldn't buy one.
First made three of the year.
Oh, God, they're so good. I mean, the Pelicans are a disaster. Zion's hurt. They can't win a game. It's the same thing. Willie doesn't have a clue. Their rotation stink. They stink. It's the same thing. They're awful. But listening to Graf and JD is just, so I texted Muse. I was like, going to Sterlitz, 7:42 p.m. Like, the Garza 3. Pull the audio.
Graf goes, yikes.
Oh, my God. I'm at the corner of Airline and Highland at a red light, just belly laughing, texting you.
Oh, man.
Like, I can laugh. The great thing about the Pelicans stinking is I knew they were going to stink, and I have no expectation. I refuse to let them hurt me. Like, we talked at the beginning of the season. I refuse to let them hurt me anymore. I'm just expecting they're going to be awful. It's just what it's going to be. And so I'll just have when we have micro wins, I'll enjoy them. And I'm going to enjoy the hell out of listening to Graf all year. I mean, game 3 out of 82, dying with a Garza 3 in the first half. I mean,
the first half.
A beautiful thing. A beautiful thing. All right, Muso, Tigers in the pros.
Tigers
Yikes.
in the pros. They still bleed purple and gold. They're just really rich now.
All right, Dan Quinn met with reporters.
Can we get Graf an Evermore deal, by the way? Get
Sure.
Graf and JD some water up there.
Why
in the
not?
booth.
Met with reporters on Tuesday and updated the status of Jaden Daniels. Remember, Daniels missed the game Monday night with a hamstring injury. Quinn says he had a good rehab session on Sunday. They're back out at practice on Wednesday, and they plan on Jaden Daniels being out there with them. He's missed 3 starts this year, 2 due to the knee, 1 Monday night due to the hamstring. Be great to see him get back out there. NBA action, a little LSU on LSU last night down in Houston. The Brooklyn Nets and Cam Thomas versus Tari Eason and the Rockets. We'll start with Tari Eason as he played 26 minutes off the bench and was Houston's leading scorer in the ball game. Matter of fact, he was the game's leading scorer. 22 points on 8 of 12 shooting. Nailed 5 threes, 5 boards, 5 assists. How about a cool plus 21 for Tari Eason in a huge Rockets win? Cam Thomas on the other side, not his most prolific scoring night. 3 of 9 for 9 points. Naz Reid.
Should have stayed.
Oh, should he have ever. 27 minutes for him off the bench. 18 and 7 for Naz.
Would have been 19 and 8.
Efforts fell a little short. The Timberwolves dropped, but a good 7 for 12 shooting night for Naz Reid. He just continues to produce up there for the Wolves. And then Duop Reith. He got in late. Got in late for the Blazers' victory over the Lakers. Took 1 shot. It was a 3. He nailed it. 3 points for Duop Reith. He continues to carve out a role there and stay relevant in the NBA. That's Tigers in the pros.
I want to go to Supper Club right now. I want to leave the show right now and go to Supper Club. That's what I want to do. I'm looking at this menu. Truffled lobster gnocchi. Erica's had that before. It's house-made gnocchi, sauteed in a black truffle Parmesan cream sauce, topped with a whole pound of de-shelled lobster and then sprayed with truffle oil. You hungry? Oh, Supper Club. My goodness. Chef Layton outdoes himself every single day. If you've had everything on the menu like I have, they always have creative new items. Bison, seasonal favorites. I mean, we talk all the time about the steaks, and there's tons of reason to talk about the steaks at Supper Club because they're amazing. And we talk a lot about the ambiance, which is just unlike any other. With food, oh my God. The spirit selection's incredible. I mean, their wine library. You want a $10,000 bottle of wine, they got it. You want all your favorites, they got those too. You want every premium whiskey, they got it. They got all your favorites too. My goodness, the food. SupperClubBTR.com, SupperClubBTR.com for your reservation. Or just walk in, belly up to the bar tonight. Always open seating at the bar at Supper Club. SupperClubBTR.com. All right, y'all. Sean Salisbury is going to be here right after the top of the hour. I got to get Sean's thoughts on the Saints benching Spencer Rattler for Tyler Shough and talk about the Tigers as well. We have not talked at all about the loss to Texas A&M. New offensive coordinator, new play caller. Is there merit in seeing a change at quarterback with Michael Van Buren? I'll ask Sean Salisbury his thoughts on that as well. So a lot to do, and glad you're hanging out with us here. Hour 3 of AFR presented by Sunshine, coming up right after SportsCenter.
AFR.
We're brought to you by Rouse's. Hey, remember this Thursday, 2 days away, Thursday, Harold Perkins will be at the Rouse's, Burbank and Lee, from 6 to 7 p.m. signing autographs. Very cool. Perk, number 7. Go get a picture. Go get autographs from Perk, courtesy of Dr. Pepper, this Thursday over at the Rouse's, Burbank and Lee. Bring the kiddos on by to meet Harold Perkins again this Thursday over at the Rouse's, Burbank and Lee from 6 until 7 p.m. Of course, while you're there, pick up all your groceries over at Rouse's, the official supermarket of the New Orleans Saints, rouses.com. If you need all your beers or your bourbons or your wine, they got a great selection. Remember, they're 3 for $4. The more you buy, the more you save. Allows you to try a lot of new, interesting wines as well over at Rouse's, the official supermarket of the New Orleans Saints. And Harold Perkins will be at Rouse's on the corner of Burbank and Lee Thursday from 6 to 7 p.m.